Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, all these left-wing CNN, MSNBC media hacks, they love to use the Constitution as a weapon when it benefits them, huh? When Donald Trump was president, the amount of times they claimed that he was acting unconstitutional. It's funny how the Constitution only matters when they can wield it as a weapon. The moment the Constitution is upheld in a manner that gets in the way of their political goals, well then all of a sudden it's a freaking outrage. I cannot believe what I am hearing. Well, I mean, I can believe what I'm hearing. I'm not surprised by it, but I just can't believe that this is where we are as a society. Let's take a look at what CNN is outraged over this time. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's start off with the context. Eric Schmidt writes on Twitter, breaking: a federal judge in Missouri versus Biden just granted a preliminary injunction prohibiting the FBI, DOJ, DHS, and other agencies from working with big tech to censor on social media. A big win for the First Amendment on this Independence Day. I'm proud to have led the fight. The plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits in establishing that the government has used its power to silence the opposition. And just to show you how significant this is, just to really drive the point home to show how scary it is for someone in my position on this platform thanks to all the censorship, I'm gonna have to read this next sentence redacted. Opposition to various topics related to the coup, or opposition to a particular election, opposition to President Biden's policies, statements that the Hunter laptop story was true, and opposition to policies of government officials in power, all were suppressed. Let me also add in for context that this YouTube channel just a year ago was in really freaking big trouble because of the censorship campaign led by the Biden administration last year. I'm still uncomfortable even reading those basic topics on this platform and reading a legal decision concluding that all those actions were unconstitutional. Anyways, let's get back to the document. It is quite telling that each example or category of suppressed speech was conservative in nature. This targeted suppression of conservative ideas is a perfect example of viewpoint discrimination of political speech. American citizens have the right to engage in free debate about the significant issues affecting the country. Although this case is relatively young, and at this stage the court is only examining it in terms of plaintiffs' likelihood of success on the merits, the evidence produced thus far depicts an almost dystopian scenario. During the pandemic, a period perhaps best categorized by widespread doubt and uncertainty, the United States government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian ministry of truth. This is one of the most based legal documents I have ever read in my life, and I've been waiting for this moment. It's about damn time that we start seeing some federal cases here and some federal judges making some important precedent-setting decisions on this issue. And the decision seems to be that the United States federal government and federal agencies have absolutely no place communicating with big tech giants, orchestrating these censorship campaigns to control free speech. Constitutionally protected speech. Frickin' bravo. This is a huge win for the Constitution. It's a huge win for freedom. It's a huge win for basic ethics. And, well, of course, what do you think's happening at CNN? Well, take a look.
Trump-appointed judge, but this judge was confirmed 98-0 by the Senate. Just reading the words in this injunction, a, quote, massive effort by the defendants to suppress speech based on content, those are the judge's words, calling the present case, quote, arguably involves the most massive attack against free speech in the United States history, Ellie.
Yeah. It's a dramatic decision by this judge. If you read through it, he's citing to literature and George Washington and Ben Franklin. Here's what really is astonishing to me. This is a conservative ideology that clearly comes through in this decision. It's a conservative political ideology, right? We saw some of the quotes questioning conservative talking points. But the ruling itself is the opposite of judicial conservatism. This is one of the most aggressive, far-reaching rulings you'll ever see. What this judge is purporting to do is to micromanage, really, the day-to-day interactions between essentially the entire executive branch, all these agencies that are listed as defendants, and the leading social media companies. And in the actual temporary injunction, the judge basically says, you're not allowed, administration, to talk to these social media companies about any protected free speech except for cybersecurity threats, national security threats, criminal threats. But But where's the line? Who's going to police this?
They seem really freaking upset that the Biden administration and federal agencies can no longer communicate with big tech to censor lawful speech. What is wrong with these people? He claims that it's a conservative ideology. Since when is the First Amendment the most important, let's call it a bullet point of the Constitution, the first bullet point labeled as number 1, the most important right, the bedrock of a free society and free democracy? How is that a conservative value? If you mean in terms of conserving basic freedoms in the Constitution, yeah, maybe. If you mean politically conservative, you're a freaking crackhead. Then this CNN genius legal scholar goes on and lays out the decision, and again, he's trying to frame it as if it's this outrageous thing that the federal government is barred from intervening in people's ability to engage in lawful speech online. What argument are you making? Like, I literally don't understand. These are the same people who are going, blah, 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 the Constitution, blah, 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 whenever it benefits them. But in this case, in the most clear-cut example of the Constitution being upheld, where a judge is saying that Joe Biden and his frickin' Ministry of Truth, these rogue FBI agents and other federal and in some cases globalist entities, those institutions don't have the right to block you or punish you for simply engaging in constitutionally protected lawful speech. You know, again, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing. We are compassionate liberals. We just want to protect people. No, you are fascists. That's what you are. We're at a point in American society and in Western society where we are losing the right to free speech, the most important right. The right to question everything, the right to question governing bodies, the right to question the federal government, the president, federal agencies, the right to stand up and protest and have your voice heard in the public forum. There is a concerted effort, and the media seems to be the tip of the spear, to take away your rights. Another point of irony, huh? Donald Trump is unconstitutional. He's acting unconstitutional, says the people who are literally advocating for your constitutional rights to be revoked. Oh, those evil MAGA Republicans and Ron DeSantis in Florida are coming after your rights. The Supreme Court's going after women's rights. None of which actually happened. Meanwhile, here you have the same media hacks literally arguing for the government to have the ability to deny you of your rights, arguing against federal judge decisions protecting your rights, and in general, engaging in this massive globalist campaign to take away the right to free speech. It's utterly despicable. Frankly, it makes me sick, it makes me angry, it makes me frustrated, because you can tell exactly what's going on. It's a legacy media establishment that's losing its power as independent news sources are thriving in an open space environment, especially after Elon Musk purchased Twitter, where ideas are allowed to free flow and discussion is happening, where media narratives are being debunked. They're losing control, they're losing power, and essentially they're throwing a tantrum. And the same thing applies to the federal government and these goons at these federal agencies. They're losing control over narratives, they can't handle it. What we're seeing here is a wannabe authoritarian leftist temper tantrum. You know, in terms of politics, let's really put it into perspective. What side do you want to be on? How could you support Donald Trump? He said mean things about Rosie O'Donnell. He takes advantage of tax loopholes that literally everybody else takes advantage of and use losses to declare no income and pay no taxes. Oh, the outrage, the horror. How could you possibly associate yourself with these evil Republicans? No, how could you associate yourself with a fanatical, authoritarian communist regime? That's what it is. It may be communist light, but it's still freaking communist. It may be authoritarian light, but it's still authoritarian. What's worse, that Donald Trump said, you know, grab him by the you-know-what? Or a globalist regime intent on stripping away your rights one step at a time, even the two most important rights, your First and Second Amendment, an out-of-control, insatiable, power-hungry regime looking to make the fictional content of 1984 real life. Wake up, people, wake up. You folks on the globalist left need to ask yourself a very, very simple question.
Are we the baddies?
Take a moment. Think. The writing is on the wall. It's so obvious. It's right in front of you. You just need to open your eyes. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.